that tomorrow night, or whenever he has to go to the tribunal, he has to go and beg for mercy, is an indictment on our competition, and I think an absolute disgrace. Hello everyone, welcome to Eddie and Jimmy after round one. Or is it round two, or is it round 1.5?
I think 1.5 probably is more apt.
Okay, and we've got buys into round three, and we don't know what the ladder is.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for it to all sort out.
And attendances are off 8% in the first 1.5 rounds. It's been a smashing success, would you not agree?
5 games, 9 games, 7 games, 17-day breaks. Coaches complaining of it's unfair to play against a team that's already played, but then the day later, the team that hadn't already played actually got a good victory. Yeah,
that's okay. I don't mind coaches complaining about, at the end of a game about something, because then you can actually ask them questions. I mean, I would have, again, encouraged our friends in the media to, when you have a press conference, ask the questions. Like, come on, mate, you're 6 goals up. It's your fault. But let's come back to that. Hello, Jim. I'm off the long run this morning.
I actually sense a mood, and I'm here for it.
Okay. Well, hello to everybody. We'll just go back in time again. We'll be back on Wednesday as we answer your questions. We've got some rippers too that have been coming through. We'll also be here Thursday for the build-up to the weekend's football, and we'd also like to get stuck into a few different issues. Right. Can I bring one right off the top?
Please.
How do I say this? I'm devastated and disappointed by the report of Scott Pendlebury over the weekend, the way it's been handled and the way it will be handled going forward. For the following reasons. Scott Pendlebury has played 427 games of football without incident. Okay? Now, we're going to have a look at the pictures in a few moments' time, and we'll do that from a straight match review point of view, and I'll take your position. All right? Now, clearly, I'm a bit invested because I was involved with Scott Pendlebury from the time he came to the Collingwood Football Club, and I've seen what this guy is all about, okay? He is an icon of the game.
Oh, yeah,
can't argue everything that we like about our game and want our game to be, that the AFL keep telling us, okay? That tomorrow night, or whenever he has to go to the tribunal, he has to go and beg for mercy, is an indictment on our competition, and I think an absolute disgrace. I'm really angry about it. I'm really angry about it. Not that he's a Collingwood player, because there have been other players in these situations over the years who I'd go into bat just as hard. Right back in time, I went in hard for Paul Vanderhaar when he got cleaned up by Dermott to not be rubbed out because he'd been concussed in a situation they changed the rules. But this one particularly irks me because it is, to me, the personification of everything that the AFL is doing to drive their constituents crazy, okay? From opening round through to dynamic pricing, through to a number of other things which I'll get to in a few moments' time, but let's just stay on the Pendlebury situation. So, all right, let's go to the videotape, as Warner Wolf used to say, okay? And just ahead of time, I have actually sent a few of these around to the people involved at the AFL, and you're right, their answer absolutely to a person has been, don't worry, you'll get off. Now, you know that American jails are full of people who are inside for plea bargaining, right? Plea bargain their way out of the electric chair into life imprisonment, maybe with the hope of staying alive and maybe getting out eventually, okay? Now, I'm pretty big on, is it right or is it wrong?
Yeah. So
okay? If it's right, then you've got nothing to answer, and if it's wrong, then you do face the consequences.
So your key point here is he shouldn't have been reported and then suspended in the first place, or are you showing your most angst towards the fact that he's been reported, suspended, now he has to go through this process?
My angst is that the whole process is flawed. Okay?
Yeah,
so
you're on an island there.
So let's go through it, because the end result is most decorated player, an icon of the game, will have to front the court tomorrow night, waste our time in what is becoming the lawyer's school fee and holiday house fund, as promulgated by my learned friend next to me here in the last couple of weeks. So this is fresh, it's right in everyone's mind. But the fact that he will get off, okay, on a technicality, that in 5 weeks' time, the AFL had the opportunity to roll a bloke out who would have played more games than anyone else in the history of our game and say he did so without ever being reported. because he played the game fairly. He played it with aggression. He played it with elasticity. He played it with skill. They could have held that up in 5 weeks' time for all to see. But no, what they did is because they didn't rub out McAndrew, which we're about to show last week, and they've gone down the road of, geez, we better not let Pendles off because that'll look like we're favouring Collingwood, and, you can't do that, and, we'll get this, and there'll be a lot of talk about it and all the rest of it. And instead, what they have done is writ large the complete stupidity of this system. So let's roll the videotape and let's have a look at McAndrew. By the way, before we roll the tape, this was looked at, analysed and decided that there was no case to answer for 1 week ago. Now, Jimmy, you take me through. That's happened before the ball in has actually got to a ruck contest.
Yep.
He's turned his eyes away from the play and he's run through a player.
Yep, he's
Is that fair?
collected Tom Atkins high.
Okay, right, okay, so fair enough. Now, I'll say it again. That was viewed by the match review. Everyone who watched it on the night said probably $1,500. I don't necessarily want to get Mac rubbed out, by the way.
No, you're just comparing.
But he's a young guy in his way through and probably needs a bit of a pull on the nose by the officials because he did something on the weekend which was a bit undisciplined.
Well, Damien Hardwick said this, but...
Yeah, okay, so you read the play and go, hey, Mac, you want to come up, mate, we'll just get you sorted out. Don't be doing too much of this stuff. But that is exactly the rule that is in place, not to blindside somebody and getting away and hit them, okay? Now, let's roll the penalty. Now, just before we do this again, watch where the ball is and who's actually running to the ball and who's actually running to block and to get in the way of the ball, okay, which would be the Adelaide Crows for those who may not be ready to go on this. So, no, again, nothing against the Adelaide Crows player. He's done nothing except be involved in a contact sport. But let's have a look at it. So Pendles runs in, there you go, incidental contact. Within 5 metres of the ball, which is a rule, goes down, he takes a dive here, there's nothing much in this. But Pendlebury goes at the ball, braces himself and continues on after the ball. He is playing the ball. That is the game. It's a contact game where you play the ball and you go through and you keep going. And if there's is it a free kick? I don't even know if it's a free kick. He doesn't jump off the ground. His foot's planted. He lifts his right leg up there to brace himself. Doesn't run through him. Doesn't dip into him. Doesn't clean him up. Doesn't put him over the fence. Just has incidental contact in the context of the match and goes on. He's protecting himself. Rule number 1 in football, protect yourself at all times. Okay, so I say that's a farce in the first place, and I question why he has been brought up before the tribunal straight up, right? Is it because they didn't do it the week before? Right? Is it the usual thing? We have 6 months to get the rules right, and the first one that comes up, I was going to play that last week. Because I saw it on the various TVs. I saw my son on Channel 7 actually saying, look, it's probably 1,500. He might even get a week here. Everyone nods their head. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's the blocking rules. And 1 week later, they put Scott Pendlebury on the cross and rub him out for a week. And he has to tomorrow night go up and stand before these people and beg for clemency. You know what I'd do if I was Scott Pendlebury? I'd turn up tomorrow night and I'd stand there and wouldn't say a word. Right? And I wouldn't send any lawyers in. Just stand there and you say, you explain. You tell me why I'm here.
Surely common sense prevails where we all acknowledge, 1, the incident, 2, he's played 427 games. So there is an...
So let's go...
No.
Can I ask you the question? First up, should he have been reported for that?
No, because...
Okay, so no.
But you know why I don't think it should.
No.
That's a football act.
That's a football act.
So,
okay.
And I'm not saying you
calm me down, okay, because I'm about to blow a foof of it.
Oh, I can tell, yeah.
I am so angry about this. This is the thing...
If you thought Michael Holding had a long run-up...
But I speak to the AFL all the time. I say to them, stop putting your head in the mincer. Stop putting your head in the mincer. Mm-hmm. And what do? They put it on to full speed. How can we annoy people? How can we get them upset more than we need to? Now, the rest of the football world will go, Eddie's blowing up because it's Collingwood and all that sort of stuff. And that's what dumb people look at, right? You know that I love the game, right? And I don't want to go after the AFL. I like to come up with reasons that could work, and I'll go back to the ones we've been promulgating for 5 years now about opening round, which would work, and again, pull their head out of the mincer, just as we did with the VFL 3 weeks ago, pull them out of the mincer again.
Yeah, well,
So you say that's not a report, okay? Mac Andrews, should he have been up?
no, not for a week.
Not for a week, but he should have been reported.
You just give a fine. It's a football act.
That's a fine. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah.
but he should have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So two mistakes.
But then again, part of my football and non-football is trying to save money.
Yeah.
So as we've spoken.
But just be fair, okay?
So here's the easy way, common sense. You're Andrew Dillon or you're Greg Swan. Swanee, this is what's going to happen. We all know he's going to show up. We're going to see his 427 games. He's been exemplary. He's been an ornament of the game, and he's still going to be an ornament of the game. He's going to be a statue for Collingwood. So instead of rounding up the legal teams, wasting 24 to 48 hours to build it all, $10,000+, you got to put up front, plus the SC and the KC and everybody else that's going to roll up, and then we're getting people from the AFL. Let's just say he's going to get off because we're going to do it. So you just call Collingwood and go, hey, don't bother. We'll just take a $1,500 fine or whatever.
No, he's not guilty. No. I'll give you the tip. I used to fight the footy department every week on this. You do not plead guilty. This is my old Broadmeadows coming back, I reckon.
Yes.
You never plead guilty to something you're not guilty of. Ever. Because down the track it comes back. Down the track it comes back. Right now, he would have finished his career, God willing he gets through the next 5 weeks. He would have broken the record with an unblemished record, which actually means something to some people.
Yes. But
That besmirched one of the greatest players in the history of the game, who is absolutely what we should be holding up. Instead, he has to turn up, pay the administration fee. I mean, can anyone just read the room that everyone in Australia is sick of this? That it always seems to be the law-abiding citizen who has to pay the fine, where everyone else is running around causing mayhem. Gets it handed on a plate.
I agree. Not reportable.
So
but the
Scott Pendlebury
the fact is they've gone down this path there.
Right, so they've gone down this path.
So don't compound it by just making more shit decisions off the back of it.
Can't you just see that they're now getting 15 minutes of my best, just saying, what the hell are you doing? Which will be reported, and I hope it is. But I'll tell you the other part of it. The compliance that the media goes on, Pendlebury, it's a bump, that's okay, he'll get off. I mean, that's how you erode society in my book, right? The things you walk past, what good people walk past is what devastates society. I've forgotten the actual quote. When good people walk past bad deeds, that's what sets up. I'll get the quote for you. I mean, I'm so fired up.
There is a conditioning element, isn't it?
But let me go through some more. I was going to say a word I used last year, but I'm not going to say naughty words as I go through this. But I'll go through it, right, okay? Opening round. How long? How many times can we say, don't do it that way, okay? Now, the idea that we have put up here was play the New South Wales and Queensland teams against each other, play the South Australian and West Australians. Now, they couldn't do it this year, okay? So, okay, fair enough, because they couldn't do it because the grounds weren't around because of the Asian Cup soccer in Perth and the cricket in Adelaide, okay? Now, that was manifest because they brought the season back, okay? So that's a problem of their own making, but you could have got around it, okay? But the way you do it, though, is to get all those games against all the big teams in Melbourne, and you walk away with 500,000, a record-breaking weekend, and everybody's pumped up and going. Instead, I turned on the radio this morning and 3AW, a football station, who spent a good moment of their afternoon show on Friday absolutely besmirching the game. By the way, and the stuff that was being said was just totally ridiculous, right? It had no basis in fact whatsoever. It was just a complete... I couldn't believe I was listening to a station that used to be talking Melbourne, talking about AFL football and the way they went after it. So much so that I actually sent a message to the CEO going, Andrew Dillon, you listening to this on 3AW? On Tony Moclair's program with Eddie Summerfield. Couldn't believe it. I was outraged. Again, I'm permanently outraged at the moment. But seriously, I just looked at it and go, but why do that? Right? So everyone's up in arms and go, this is just complete nonsense. Right? Everybody from coaches through to supporters don't like it. Again, you can get the benefits of having opening round in the season when it's supposed to happen. Like have a big interstate push when people want to go interstate. I would have thought that makes sense. Dynamic pricing. as president of Collingwood Football Club, I refused to be involved in it because I saw it as a way of ripping off our people.
Mm-hmm.
You know? The people who turn up to watch Collingwood play Fremantle, shouldn't have to pay more to see Collingwood play Essendon on Anzac Day or Anzac Day. Yes, there's reserve seating, everyone gets a shot, but the whole dynamic pricing thing, leads to drama. But I'll pick another one out. The AFL have, again, put their head in the mincer by having a crack at the Victorian Liberal leader, Jess Wilson. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see this. Okay. Asked her to remove her social media post, which she was discussing the CFMEU.
Yeah, now, two parts to that. I'm not big on, the leader of the opposition being a smart ass at the football. It needs to be better. But good luck to you. That's where we are in politics. No problem. And making a good point, okay? So no problem with that at all, other than, there's probably better ways of doing it. But it's made the point because it's been reported everywhere. Now, it probably wouldn't have been reported everywhere had the AFL not, as it seems to do, just wade in and stomp all over everything. So what do? They hit her with, there's a copyright rule because you use 2 seconds of vision over the fence. Okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but do people shoot vision over the fence every week?
Yes.
Does the AFL at times use that vision in highlights packages?
Correct.
Is it sort of citizen journalism to do these sorts of things?
Yes.
Okay, so my point is, why would you jump into a political situation regarding the Liberal Party and the CFMEU when you've got, at the moment, Sharon McCrowan, who's in there, who is a really good operator, who I've worked with over the years, and I have great confidence in Sharon, okay? But she's under the hammer at the moment because of all the stuff with Luke Sayers and don't forget, there's always political machinations and people trying to square up and, pretending they're the good folk and in fact they're absolute shockers. But why would you do it? And why would you go? Why wouldn't you just ring her up and say, hey, Jess, do you want to change that shot for us because it's actually breaking copyright and, we don't want you to get into any trouble and things like that. But, you're entitled to sit the football and do a FaceTime or do whatever you want to do. Yep. But can you just take that out? It just makes our life a bit easier.
Yep.
Okay? Because you are the leader of the opposition in Victoria, so you actually are held to a greater account. It's not like Fred from Frankston or Barry from Broadmeadows doing it on the weekend. Just do it properly. But instead, the heavy-handedness comes in.
No, they don't help themselves, and we always talk about it. There's ways of saying things. You can say the same thing, but just use different language. And this is another one.
Yeah.
Hey,
so just to finish on Pendlebury. So what do you reckon should happen? Well, I know what's going to happen. He has to go up and.
No, I think they should just call Collingwood and go, you know what? We all should just save everyone's time and money. We know he's going to get off. So
they should apologise to him.
Well,
that's what they should do.
I don't know whether they'll apologise. They're like the Fonz. Sorry.
But can you explain to me, just to finish up on, what was the upside in doing that for the AFL?
I don't think there was any upside. I think maybe they actually. I'll try and paint the picture.
Yeah, help me.
We want to show integrity in our process.
Yep,
that
I agree.
We want to judge everything equally. It doesn't matter if it was Scott Pendlebury or Scott Smith.
Yep.
He's made contact with the head, and our preference is send everyone to the tribunal and get them to prove that they're innocent.
And had they done that the week before to McAndrew, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yep. I tried to make the argument. I didn't say it was a good one.
No, I'm just saying, I agree with you. But again, it's always a retrospective square up around, I don't know, placating some mythical group that apparently are filling out all the focus groups, as opposed to going, what do you reckon people would normally, what do you reckon everyone who goes to football would say about this situation? Do we want to see Scott Pendlebury get a week? Does he deserve to get a week for this? I mean, one, I'll go back to the original point. It's complete stupidity that he was reported in the first place by anybody who has even walked past a ground, far less played it or stated it. One bloke was running that way away from the ball. The other bloke is running at the ball and got his... I mean, he probably should have got a free kick for a block.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
but,
that's a stretch, but I'm stretching. But I'm just saying, that's the anyway.
Oh, actually, well...
I'm really... again, I'll stop now.
No, don't.
I don't want to come in here on a Monday and be having a fight all the time. But to me, Scott Pendlebury was on the radio all through the weekend and on the TV. And he said, I don't even know the process to go to the tribunal.
He wouldn't even know where it is. Nor should he.
And he has to turn up, you know.
I think they
In the meantime, the AFL sits on the fact that we had 2 players arrested overseas with alleged drug paraphernalia and hope that it didn't get exposed.
Yes.
But if a bloke grabbed his phone and stuck it over the top of a toilet in Sorrento and took a photo over the summer, poof, you're dragged up, you're suspended, you're this, you're that, and all the rest of it.
Well, I've got you running hot. Andrew Dillon did the rounds.
Wow. Yeah.
And he said he was going to consult the fans regarding grand final start time.
Yeah, well, but that's ridiculous. Mate, this is why we have an independent commission, apparently. Right? Here's what an independent commission does. We're getting our pants pulled down by Peter Volandis, okay? We have now given up, as told, again, I don't know why I even say these things. You know, they come in 5 years later with the things we talk about here on president's meetings, whatever. We've been saying forever. You know that there's not one person on the AFL commission who has actually sold a ticket, had to get a television or a radio ratings, who understands show business, okay? That's the business we're in. Yeah, we're great on all these other things, wonderful, but we don't have anybody who actually understands football and where the game's going. So if I'm running the AFL Commission, I don't care. Here's what's going to be the right thing for football going forward. Get it into twilight or night time, but I think twilight's the time. It's only a couple of hours later. It sets up the whole situation, gets us into prime time. I'd go Sunday too, by the way, and get the public holiday on the Monday, because guess what? Saturday night's a wasteland. You know why there's no free-to-air? You know, this is brought to you by the mob who don't have free-to-air on a Saturday. Why?
Well, they couldn't afford the...
What is the graveyard shift? Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. There is not a game in the whole season Saturday afternoon at 2:30. No. Okay?
So you're
so let's put our best game.
So then
hang on, and let's spend all the money on opening round, because we have to give the northern states a bit of a go. So then let's play our biggest game when they're all out in the harbour.
Yeah, but they didn't
at the wrong time of the day.
They didn't spend that much on it, but
well, whatever. You know what I mean? They spent political capital. They're getting their heads kicked in.
Well, this sounds like
stupid.
This sounds like you're giving Craig Drummond, call it, some advice of what he should be doing in his, the first 100 days.
I gave it advice to Mike Fitzpatrick. I gave the advice to Richard Goyder. I mean, it's not hard, mate. I work in television. I don't know if you've noticed that. And guess what else is happening? Free-to-air TV is under pressure. So what the AFL should be doing is try to make as much money for Channel 7 and Foxtel as is humanly possible. And here's the other thing. When the ratings goes up, because everyone goes, oh, it's all about ratings. You know what that means? More people are watching it. It means it's in a position that is more available for people to enjoy the game. That means it's a more popular time slot. I mean, it's just madness. And the fact that we get dragged through this year after year after year for some virtue signalling crap that they're going to keep it on at 2:30, and in the meantime, the NFL goes right past us at 100 miles an hour, and Volandis is smoking a cigar, now making us the butt of the jokes. I'm sorry, Pendlebury is the straw that has broke this camel's back.
I like this mood, Ed.
Anyway, all right, let's go. Round one. Let's go on to Melbourne. Let's talk about some of the fun. Two things. Hooray, joining the chorus for North Melbourne. It was fantastic.
It was super.
I loved it yesterday for North Melbourne and all their fans. I sent a message to Trev Marmalade, who was back up on his toes. He was able to pull out all the Collingwood jokes again for the first time in 20 years. But also Al Clarkson. And I thought Clarko going into the papers and again, underlining my point. Maybe that's why I'm fired up, because I spent a lot of time with Clarko during all that period. You might remember when we were sitting together on Footy Classified, on the night the report came through on the Wednesday, when the AFL ran for the hills and just burnt their own people in trying to placate a concept which was completely flawed, and the pain and suffering that Al Clarkson has gone through. And he was able to get to this position, and on the weekend, the goodness of Al Clarkson manifested itself into a beautiful victory for North Melbourne. I couldn't have been more happy for anybody in football than Clark on the weekend.
It was a great camera shot. Well done to they do zoom in on the coach's box, but I don't know whether the lighting was perfect. I know in the dome it's a bit hard, but half time. Now, I don't know I don't actually believe he was teary, but you could see there was
No, it would have been, yeah.
there was a lot of emotion
I reckon his family would have been.
on the face at halftime. But the best bit was there was leading up to the halftime siren. They free kicked the Kangaroo supporter, ball, and all that sort of stuff. And then there was another one, and then there was another one, and then there was a turnover, and then there was the siren. And just hearing the North fans, I'm like, yeah, they've been in, they've never left. But, geez, it was good to hear them being in when they're going well.
Chris Fagan had 2 years of redemption, and Chris came. I think I can say this now. We caught up at one stage in the middle of the year, and he was wanting to resign and finish up his career. He thought he had nowhere to go. He was shattered. And as it turned out, he went on and won the premiership that year. Was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, won the premiership that year, and has subsequently won another, and has rightfully got his position back in football. Clarko was still getting his head kicked in until 5 minutes into the first quarter the other day. And what he and his family have been put through is again, goes back to my point. So sometimes the AFL know the price of everything and the cost of nothing. And they've just got to get that sorted out. They got thrown under, not under a bus, they got thrown under the Southern Aurora and let it back over them 3 times in that situation. And that was horrific. I'm still waiting on I must call the ABC to see if they're going to retract.
I was going to ask you.
Those 2 press releases they sent out giving me a kicking for just reporting that I thought it was bad journalism at the time.
I'm going to ask you, Ed, is this, not that will ever be an end to that moment in history or that report or what happened, but do you think that's the Clarko articles was sort of a bit of a bow tie in it? Or do you think there's still more to come?
If they'd have been beaten by 10 goals, everyone would have been calling for his neck this week. And no one will have taken the foot off his throat at all. The guy had to give up work at one stage, such was the pressure. A fair bit of bullying in all that, you would have thought. But anyway, he's a tough guy and he doesn't complain and he's got himself going again. And look, it might be the only time North wins all year. We might be
Hope not.
calling for his neck in 10 weeks' time. But I actually sat down and just contemplated after that win. I thought, wow, now there is a bloke that I look at what he's gone through, and I actually was slightly teary-eyed, and I don't get teary-eyed for wins from other sides that often. And I just thought, wow, what he has been through. And the same with Chris Fagan, who have become 2 of my favourite people in football because of what they were put through unfairly. And the jump on, the pile on that week was just unbelievable. I mean, I got jumped on for just going, it's a strange way of reporting this story. At the time, remember?
Yes, I do. I do.
Immediately. Others didn't. Others jumped on. Be nice if a few of them actually, went back and just had a look at their comments and said, yeah, we got that wrong. Nothing wrong with that. We hold everyone accountable, apparently. Anyway, there we go.
You want to talk about Melbourne?
Yeah, let's go.
Because you mentioned...
Can we get through Melbourne? I don't want to whack everybody this today, but North was great. So 3 cheers for North Melbourne.
Yeah, that's why I want to keep the positivity going.
Yeah.
Melbourne have unveiled their NBA-inspired fan experience to attract more supporters to the game. What will bring more people to the game? The music, all the visual stuff, the brand of footy. Because, some numbers are out since they won their premiership. They've had a decline in their membership, but if they play that brand of football with that energy and excitement, you watch, the Melbourne supporter base. Yeah. They look fit. They look fast. Stephen King's positive. I know it's only their first game, but that certainly gets you sitting down and watching Melbourne. Their supporter base, they were loud yesterday. That was coming through the TV. So a massive tick to Melbourne. I loved their ad campaign where they took the mickey out of themselves. They had some of their supporters. Yep. It was Clint Stanway, Russell Howcroft. Apologies, there was Titus O'Reilly. There's another one. And there's 2 others. Apologies, I haven't forgotten.
They're making fun because Melbourne has just been no fun since...
Yeah.
Since basically the guy who used to own the nightclub down in Chapel Street or the bar down there, he got arrested and, he should have got a medal for breaking into Western Australia. I mean, I was the only one who was banned from Western Australia in that situation. But, the fun suddenly became a a federal offence, and just I'm wrapped for Melbourne because actually there's this saying I used to always say at Collingwood: unless you stand for something, you stand for nothing. And let's be honest, Melbourne over the last few years have stood for complete hypocrisy and bullshit. And now over the summer, under Paul Guerra, and with Steve Smith coming into the presidency, and Stephen King coming in, they said, right, we don't care. We're going to get rid of Clary. We're going to get rid of Petrarca. We're going to get whatever we can, and we're going to start again.
Yep. The big call on Stephen May.
Yep. May's gone, and Van Rooyen comes out and plays the game of his life.
Yep. Kick 6.
Yep. But what I know they play at different ends of the game, but what I'm saying is suddenly everyone elevates because you're not behind these guys. And again, to see it, and look, the music at the MC, probably the problem for poor old Melbourne is that they play most of their games in a 100,000 seat stadium, and other than King's birthday or a final, they don't usually get near filling it. But the atmosphere yesterday was fantastic. St Kilda turned up as well, their supporters, so it was a pretty good crowd. Yep. Certainly a good enough crowd to make it feel like you're at the MCG. And it was great. And they played great footy. It was a wonderful game to watch.
How good was Max Gawn? Oh.
And Max Gawn.
What a player. What a player. What a captain.
Yeah.
He looks like he can play another 10 years.
Yeah.
He's been exceptional.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I reckon that was the breaking point when May had a go at him for that kick.
That's right.
Against Collingwood on King's birthday last. I reckon that was when everyone said, hang on a second. If we're denigrating our captain, this bloke in front of everyone against the arch rival on the MCG in a tightly fought game where he's decided to try and do something in the last seconds, and this bloke's had to go. Do you reckon that was it?
I think it might have fast-tracked a lot of discussions, don't you?
Yeah, well, good luck. 1 game, 1 win. Saints, 2 games, 2 losses. But they've been close.
Hardly disgraced themselves.
I
think the big talking point out of it is Naz Wanganeen Malera, of course, Ross Lyon. He put on a masterclass in the press conference. He gets asked a question, and typical Ross, it's the body language. It's I'm glad you asked that, and you're talking about that, and he just chewed the time. Didn't actually ever answer any of the questions asked, but it was fun to watch. And the question always comes back: was why did the media let Ross get away with it? Well, because you ask him a question. It's only, as we got taught early days at Geelong, when you get asked a question, it's only an invitation to speak.
It is, but you're also there as a journalist and you need to go in.
Yes, but I'm just saying from Ross Lyon's point of view, you ask him a question, he's just going to talk.
Okay, well, you can just say that. Okay, Ross, thank you. You've absolutely said nothing. I've timed you for 2.5 minutes, so I'll put the question to you again. Bang. And you let him go. And then what you do is you can play it and people can watch. Sometimes it's what's not said in an answer that actually gives you the insight.
Well, because the talking point, a lot of people are asking, so Wanganeen Malera is not having the most amount of possessions, but he's still dangerous. He's kicking goals. Move him deep forward, takes a nice big hang, pack mark, goes back. I think it makes it nearly a goal.
Yep.
But he'd spent the first 11 minutes at full forward, so hardly stretched as far as physically, because of the way the game was going. Comes off, and even as he's coming off, he goes, you want me off? And they're like, yeah, sits there, has a drink of water, on the phone to Ross the boss, but he's there for 6.5 minutes with the game in the balance and then goes back on. Whereas if you flipped it around, different players I know, we need to win the game, Max, can you stay on for the whole entire last quarter? So that was the questions being raised to Ross.
They're fair questions.
Yeah, 100% they
and
are.
he can give an answer. They might have a fair answer.
Yeah,
it's like people are losing their mind about Collingwood's forward line this week. Collingwood, and I'm not defensive because you know that I was not happy with Cox and Mycheck. At least one of them should have stayed, and largely because I think the new ruck rules, not helping Darcy Cameron in the centre bounce where they got slaughtered in the third quarter, and also not having the marking players up forward. In a game that is high velocity, it's gone back to the old days. You're going to see high marking or big forwards, power forwards, come into the game, particularly as the game goes on. When you're running flat out, you tell me, sometimes you've got to kick it long, don't you?
You've got to take the territory.
You've got to take the territory, and you've got to have somebody there. I reckon both Fremantle and Collingwood lost because they didn't have Mason Cox in their sides on the weekend.
That's a big impact. Well, Mason's 35.
Yeah, but he's
No, but I'm just saying
he's
that's
fit and 7 foot, and he would have been good in the goal square for both Fremantle late in that game, and certainly for Collingwood.
I was highlighting that as a positive, that you think someone at the age of 35 has that much of an impact. I wasn't downplaying it.
No, I think we've got to get over the birth certificate routine. You just got to have hardened players, good players.
Because I feel like you're in this sort of mood. And I thought you gave a great motivational speech last week when you were...
I copped a bit from Collingwood people saying, what are you motivating Carlton for?
Yes. So, Chris Scott, since half-time of last year's grand final...
Hang on, these are my stats. I sat down and did these. I'm going to get them out. Go.
You want me to read them too? I've got them just in front of me.
Yeah, go get them. I've got my scribblings. I have further notes. Go.
After being beaten 19 goals 13 to 40 goals 23 since half-time last year's grand final to quarter-time on the weekend, Chris Scott finally gave his players a whackety whack.
Finally. So, let's go through it.
I knew you
From
were in a mood today.
half-time against... was 6-3 to 13-8 in the grand final after half-time. Suns 10-9 to 19-11, and at quarter time it was 3-1 to 8-4. That's 19-13, 32 shots, to 40-23, 63 shots. In that, what's that? 4, 6, 7 quarters of football, they were beaten by 139 points. Okay?
Yeah, that's bad.
And the coach came out and said, no, nothing to see here after the first game and all that sort of stuff. He got the quarter time down at Geelong and he went in and first of all, no more kumbaya, he got his coaches in first of all and gave it to them. And then he went across and I'm led to believe, you're the Geelong man, tell me, that he actually told a few people some harsh truths. For a mob that had been running around and looking good, and it was going back to the old days at Geelong where they used to give them a round of applause if they won the toss, right? And they're very comfortable down there at Geelong, as we know. And suddenly, Scotty got the old mad stare of the halfback flanker back and shook them into life. Is that fair comment?
Yes. He doesn't give a spray that often.
No.
He's very pointed. But when he gives it, he doesn't miss the mark.
Good.
He can blister you.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I know these days we're all got to, sit down and get people in from HR before you do things and all that stuff. But in a contact, physical, hard game, sometimes you have to have hard discussions in the 5 minutes, and it seemed to work.
100% it worked.
So you tell me.
Because they were off, and they'd been off for even the Gold Coast game, and I don't think we expect them to win it, but you could see with their body language, the way they were going. Sometimes you think you're on, but you're not on.
Yeah.
And you think you're at the football, but you're not at the football. And the amount of advice I've given to young players who I come into contact with, and they say, I feel like I've got the best seats in the house. So you can actually play a game of football and you can have the best seats in the house. Like you're running along and there's the game just where you are and you're just constantly going up and back and you're pretty much doing cardio because you're going up and back the ground. So the bit of advice that I'd give young players is get close enough to touch the football because that actually draws you in, which means if you don't get your hands on it, at least you're close enough to do something and tackle. And it felt like quarter time, the guys who just were floating around the edges and, I hope Ed gets it out to me. Actually, then, hey, we've got to get in and actually get close enough to touch a football, which actually it's surprising how many times you do get the football.
Yeah, when you're playing football and you're hoping for a result, you're in trouble.
It's the hope that kills you.
No. Hey, so with that, the Cats were great in the 3 quarters after that.
Shannon Neal stood up.
Yeah.
Atkins got back to his ball-winning ways, and then Holmes and Smith and these sort of guys got going.
One question on that. You were in the meeting when, I think it was Matthew Scarlett, stood up in the mid-2000s and gave Gary Ablett the mad stare, and probably gave you one. I don't know if you did. You were getting on or not, but that moment where Geelong went from being the handbaggers to being Geelong.
Yep.
And have now had the best part of 20 years of success off the back of it.
Yeah, so
how do you get that penny to drop? Because I reckon Clarko coming out, and even the letter that came out from Sonia Hood to the North Melbourne people last week saying, no longer are we looking for glimpses and flashes of brilliance and winning a quarter and wasn't that good. No, we've finished the rebuild. Now it's time to start to deliver. And that seems to have been something that manifests itself on the field.
Yeah, you can spend a lot of, it's not just sport, or not just footy, it can be sport. So imagine the mountain with the big boulder. It's almost like a cartoon.
Sisyphus.
Yeah, well, everyone sort of got their back to it individually trying to push this big boulder. And you can go like that. And then you can either then choose to keep doing all the hard work and you slowly slide back down the mountain and you never get it up, or you can all actually fall in together and go, right, let's all face it, push it up. But then once you get it over the other side, you can't stop that boulder going down the hill.
Yeah.
And you need that moment just to get it over. So it happens really slowly and then it happens really quickly.
Yep.
And I think that happened for us in Geelong, and they've just... It takes a lot of good people on the way to keep it going. You can't just rely on 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but there's been a lot of good people come through that club, and you hope that eventually happens for North Melbourne.
Okay, the Bartel Medal. We've got the Jamal Medal this week. Jamal hasn't come up? No. Anyway.
He's a part-time operator, Jamal.
Is he? It's okay. He's working from home, is he?
Well, he might be on the bye. He might be on the part of the AFL split round.
Bartel Medal. Okay, let's go through the votes. Who got the 1 vote?
Luke Parker, I thought, was fantastic, playing a bit behind the ball. Dan Houston starting to find his form. You know I'm a big fan of Sarong. Jackson was good in the ruck. Tim English. Jack Gunston, the ageless wonder. McDonald, after some pretty big news during the week. Ollie Florent and Lawler there for the Tiggies.
He was great, wasn't he?
The Wizard.
Yep.
Dylan Stevens from the Kangaroos might have finally found his place. Well, he's been there, but he's starting to have real impact on games. Josh Worrell, your boy Nick Dacos. I thought Curnow was going to kick 5, but it was Amadi who did. The Lizard, Max Holmes, and Jagger Smith, game 2.
A couple of good young players in that list, isn't it? Can I go back to your one? I thought Florent, I was really wrapped for him.
Yeah,
Ollie Florent had a tough year last year. I think he's always been a really good player, and it was good to see him get on the MCG on a night time and play good football.
Set them up well.
Yeah.
The 3 voters. Oh, it's Petrarca.
Jeez, he's going right, isn't he?
Yep. Max Gawn. Max Hall is a very, very good AFL player and served his time in the VFL by Box Hill. Van Rooyen, 6 goals. Wayne Malera against your Pies.
Yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
He was good. The Bont and Shannon Neal, because he turned the game in the 3rd quarter. So we've got a leaderboard already.
Yep.
Oh, it's Petrarca on 6. The Bont and Nick Dacos. That's a pretty nice leaderboard.
There you go. That's pretty good, isn't it?
You comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Not quite 3 for Nick, but he was very.
Oh no, he was very good. But I think Malera was the difference in that game.
He was,
no doubt about it. And you could have, the forward line. If you could have grouped the 3 forwards, they were fantastic for Adelaide as well. All right, follow us wherever you can find a podcast. Pretty generic, isn't it? Or watch us on YouTube. Don't forget to send your messages to us to Eddie and Jimmy at 9.com.au. That's Eddie and Jimmy at 9.com.au. And we'll be back Wednesday to go through your letters, okay? Look forward to it. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Ed.